Squatters' rights, right? Too much, too little, depends on what state it is, obviously, when it comes to squatters' right. But we're gonna get into it. If I can share the screen, y'all know it takes me all day to share the screen. Here we go. Boom. Anxiety over squatters fueled by TikTok inspires a wave of legislation. This is on State Line. Oh, shout out to State Line. This is by Robbie Securia, April 26, 2024. So not even 3 months yet. So I feel good. Not even 3 months behind. It's still quote unquote like in a quarter of me reporting on this. If I was saying I'm a reporter. Anyways, opponents of the bills call the trend a manufactured crisis that could affect legitimate tenant protections. Long story short, if you haven't been seeing this, there have been situations, I mean, whether it's a rental property or, someone's parent has passed, anything like that, or someone's been out of town for a long time, however you want to slice it, there are people, they're called squatters, they're I won't say moving in, but for layman's terms, they move into homes and once they are in there for a significant period of time, they in short become tenants, even though they're squatters, and it can take months, if not years, and a lot of money to get them evicted. Just the way the laws are set up, all right, and they're essentially using, you know, tenant rights to be able to stay in these properties. Sorry, here we go. Squatting is not the answer. A Los Angeles resident left set a banner on her home fence reading, all right, squatting answer. Across the street of a formerly vacant home. Right, these homes are vacant that have been recently taken over by a group of homeless mothers. Ooh, in 2020. See, so this goes back to 2020. 4 years later, a controversial TikTok has ignited the issue of squatting, and some lawmakers want to crack down on the practice. Damian Dovergains, Associated Press. And again, sometimes people are dealing with squatters when it comes to people who do an Airbnb. They Airbnb it, and then they end up overstaying and they end up becoming squatters. Like it's crazy some of the stuff I've seen out here. All right, here we go. Let's get started. Across various news channels and outlets, a visceral fear of some property owners that an unwanted guest could move into their vacant home, refuse to leave, and then claim ownership has been a trending story. This is not a good trending story. These squatter horror stories have reached a fever pitch in the past month after a migrant TikTok influencer, Venezuelan national Lionel Monroe, encouraged people to squat in homes across the United States. Monroe was arrested in Ohio late March by federal immigration and custom enforcement officers. Okay, so this is, again, not even American citizens doing this, immigrants. And well, I don't know if they're saying these immigrants are illegal or not, but if even illegal immigrants can find a way to squat in your home, it's got to be some type of lawmaking change, right? If you're here illegally, but then you can still have protection because you're in the home based off for squatters' rights or tenants' rights, however you want to phrase it, due to these laws at the county, city, or even state level, however it's set up, based off of wherever it's at in the country. That is unreal. So far, lawmakers in at least 10 states have floated legislation this year that would address squatting by revoking tenancy rights, making it easier for police to remove squatters, or making squatting a criminal offense. Several have quickly enacted new laws. A lot of times, I believe the issue is that when people call the police, I believe they say someone's, in their house or along those lines, versus in short, calling the police and saying a crime has been committed, meaning someone has broken into my house, right? I believe from what I've seen, again, this is probably very state to state, maybe even city to city / county to county. But what I've seen is that, if you call the police and you don't say, a crime has been committed, they can't just show up and kick the person out if there isn't paperwork on either side saying that the person, quote unquote, can't be there, right? It sounds like the assumption is that the person, in short, innocent until proven guilty. You got to prove that they can't be there. And in short, that means you got to end up going to court, right? I mean, what proof do you have? Like you don't have to have paperwork to live somewhere, right? When it's not, not an apartment, right? And so my assumption is based off of how all these things, all these issues are going on across various states. But if you're just living somewhere, right? In short, if you move into someone's house, well, then they let you stay there, and there's no paperwork, they can't just. The laws are set up to where you can't just kick them out. And I believe it's around like 30 days or so. Like, you can't kick them out. And then, like, where's the proof of how long they've been there, right? Then how do you prove when they entered, as far as how long they've been staying there? You can't change the locks, all these various type of things. It gets very intense out here. All right, the bills typically sponsored by Republicans, but often garnering bipartisan support, come at the time of heightened housing anxiety. Also, too, I mean, they're a pro tenant tenant cities, and then vice versa, obviously like pro landlord cities or states, right? All depends on where you're at. The shortage of housing is worse than ever with affordability at a new low. Meanwhile, migrant encounters at the US Mexico border reached a new monthly high in December, and nearly 80% of Americans think that situation is either a major problem or a crisis. If people are struggling from a housing standpoint, and we know like the military, they don't have as many recruits as they want. A lot of people will know they need to just join the military. And I'm dead ass with that. Like, it'd be one of the best decisions they can make. If you don't have no resources, you're struggling financially, you're struggling to feed yourself, you're struggling for housing, you're struggling all this type of stuff. Join the military. I mean, military, they'll pay for your housing, and pay for a lot of stuff. You can go on deployment, make I think it's up to $100,000 before you pay taxes. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of benefits in the military. Then people complain about the cost of college, military, they'll pay for you to go to college. And I mean, there's all these different type of things that you can get out here. People struggling with housing loans, I mean, buying a house, you get in military, once you get out, there's disability, you ain't gotta pay the VA's version of PMI, right? You're struggling to get a house, you don't gotta put any money down for a VA loan. I'm not saying you should do that, but I mean, the joining the military and getting your honorable discharge, make sure you get your honorable, right? But you serve 4 years in the military and you can get an honorable discharge. I mean, there are a few things that come with more benefits, that have a better benefits package than looking at someone say, hey, you join the military and in 4 years you get this honorable. These are the things that you will have access to or may be able to get access to, depending on what, your disabilities are when you get out. It's unreal. Oklahoma State Representative Ross Ford, whose legislation advanced days after Monroe posted his TikTok video. They get some stuff, the stuff they want to get done in Congress, they get done, right? He passed some stuff in some days. Said he began thinking of posting on TikTok. That's crazy. Representative Ross Ford said he began thinking about the issue several years ago after hearing of instances in rural areas of the state. This is Oklahoma, this state, I'm assuming. But Ford, a Republican, also told State Line the recent wave of bills across the country is likely in response to Monroe's video. Interesting. So if you post stuff on TikTok, I guess the government's seeing that. I mean, we know how they feel about TikTok, right? Or some of them, should I say. For me, I heard complaints about squatting from property owners, accounts of individuals scouring, I don't know, newspapers for death notices in search of a place to occupy. Again, I talk about people's their parents' house, right? Their parent passes away. They're trying to do renovations. They're not trying to, they're doing renovations, right? So they can sell the house and someone comes in, the squatter comes in, and now they can't get the squatter out. I mean, is insane. Because then how do you prove that they haven't been living there with the parent? I mean, if the parents have, I mean, it's like, what? And then it gets real interesting. Like, I know this is right. Housing is different than, a vehicle. But if someone was like in my car and I called the police and someone's in my car, I need you to come get them out. I don't believe I would have to say since someone broke into my car, right? They would need to be broken glass, anything like that. This is my car, right? And if I don't want somebody in my car, you need to get them up out of my car. Because if I do it, then it's against the law. If I want to do it the way I want to do it, that's why I'm calling the police to come do stuff, right? In short, the police can do things that other people, if they were to do them, to be against the law. So that's why I'm calling the police for y'all to come do it. But when it comes to housing, right, different laws as far as, compared to a vehicle. I know I'm sort of like exaggerating, but it's the same way. I live here. This is my house, right? I have the paperwork to say that I live here. I have ownership, and I don't want them here anymore. And when you're talking about you have to go through months or years or all this money when it comes to legal fees, so the court process, this person being in your home, I don't know. Because also too, let's be very clear. If you live somewhere, just produce the paperwork that you live there. If you have that, these people don't have any paperwork to say they live there as far as like any type of lease or tenant agreement, and they don't have any type of mail in any type of information that this is their address now. They're not supposed to be in here, right? Not saying you can just go in there and kick them out, but if the owner, right, of the property is calling saying, hey, yo, I need you to get them out of here, they don't live here. I don't know what else more needs to be determined.